So once you have your magazine spread mockup InDesign document open in InDesign, what you're going to do is you're going to place your photo or photos of all 20 of the thumbnails. Remember, your thumbnails are you're doing 10 sets. And by sets, I mean you have one opening and one article spread, and you're going to do that 10 different times. I just duplicated this because I don't want to show the same layouts over and over again because I don't want people to just copy exactly what I have. You really don't want to copy what I've got. These are not going to necessarily fit with what you want. But what I want to show you is in this first spread up here, what you're doing is I've got a note that says place the pictures. So you just do File, Place. Then what you're going to do is you're going to choose the 3 that you feel are your strongest. So the 3 sets. So that's the opening and the article. And what you'll do is you're going to recreate that layout here. So this will be for your first opening, and this will be for your first article spread. Then you'll repeat that again for your second opening and your second layout for the article, and then your third spread for your opening and your third here. Now, a couple things that I want to show you when you're doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and do one of them, and then you can ask me questions individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to temporarily duplicate this. I'm just holding down the Alt key, and I'm going to grab that rectangle and essentially crop this down. So I can use this as an example. So it's definitely not to scale, meaning I'm not going to put this behind here and try to trace over it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that as my indication. Now you could actually do this with just looking at the paper that you have. That's probably easier than what I'm doing, but I wanted to kind of show you what I've got set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a frame that covers that entire side, and I'm going to put it in as a gray box. And I'm going to make sure that I put it as a fill and not a stroke. There we go. So there's my first box. Then I'm going to type in my title. And just like you did with the King Kong one, this is the one that you might stylize a little bit, but I wouldn't spend forever with it. You are going to get a chance to experiment and do some variations on your titles later on when you decide which one you actually want to use. Oh, looks like I don't have that font in here. I forgot this is using Cameo, so it's a little more limited on what I have available for fonts, but that's okay. Come on, little computer. This internet connection right now is going a little slow since my wife is teaching in the other room as well. All right. I had something set up, something like this. Okay. I've got that piece set up. So I'm going to go back to my photo. So I look like okay, yeah, I was starting to put columns of text on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up a little bit better. So yeah, remember the title, you want to spend a little bit of time working on that to try to make it look better, because that is going to be in the thumbnail, the piece that's going to help sell it. But now, as far as setting up your columns of text, remember, what you're going to do is this. You want to start at an edge. You don't want to stop halfway through a column. See how there's a column? These little spots inside of here are gutters. So you want to have it snap directly to that one. Or you can span, meaning you're going to go across, and you could have this be 2 columns, or you could have it go all the way over here to 3 columns. But the key idea is you don't want to stop halfway through, and you also don't want to stop inside of the gutter. And that applies for photos and that applies for text as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this box here, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm just holding down the Alt or Option key. And now I'm going to link those two together. So remember, to link, you're clicking on this out port. That's the white box right there. Then you move over here to with the chain link, and now those two are connected. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into this box. I'm just going to type in some gibberish right now, just that couple letters, just so I can change the size of this. Remember, size 12 is way too big for body copy. I would lean towards 12. And you're going to want to, and we'll talk about this when we get into doing more of your own stuff, you're going to want to change the font, and you're going to want to make sure that it's smaller. So what we're going to do is I'm going to choose a serif font. So it's this one. And I'm going to look to see what serif fonts I have that are available on here. Maybe I'll try Palatino. I'm going to do size 10. Okay, cool. So now that I have that set up, what I can do is I can go to type and go down way down here towards the bottom. Got that little black arrow right there, so I can click down, fill with placeholder text. Boom. Now that's filled in with the placeholder text. Oops, sorry about that. I'm resizing in there instead of this one. There we go. So now that, give me a second. I'm so used to using so many different little keyboard shortcuts, and since I'm doing this in Cameo to help out, it's definitely slowing me down just a little bit, so be patient. There we go. Let me zoom out just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so the only other thing that I want to add in here is my page number. So I'm going to go here. Let's switch this to full screen mode to see if I can get out of the... Nope, it's not letting me do it. All right. So I'm going to type in my magazine is about... And for now, I'm just going to put in a random page number. And later on in yours, I'll show you how to actually set this up to where the page number will show up automatically, and you'll do something a little bit more stylized. Something like that. I'm going to shrink that guy down. Going to line that up here, maybe even move it down. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and bring that over to there so it's lined up with that edge. And I'm going to select both and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to show you a trick. So I'm going to come down here just to save some time, and I'm going to do paste in place. And it automatically put them exactly where they were. Then I'm going to come down to the next one. I'm going to click on it once, paste in place. Going to do the same thing down here, paste in place. Come down here, I'm clicking once, paste in place, paste in place. And now I've got page numbers on every single one of those pages. So I can always move those around depending on my next layout. But that gets me the first part. Then what I'll do is on this second one, I'll do the same thing. I'll set up based on the one of the opening pieces. Come over here. I'm going to duplicate that again just for the sake of a demo. And decide I wanted to do this one. So all I'm doing is grabbing these white arrows. You don't necessarily have to put the photo next to this one. I like to do that just because it gives me a little bit of a visual indicator so I know what it is that I'm trying to copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this one. So it looks like on this one I did 3 pictures across the top. I did my pull quote text and then these little faces that I'm going to have to put in. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this rectangle tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 4 columns wide. You don't have to do it exactly like that. I'm doing it 4 columns wide because I know it will evenly across here. Now, a couple things that are happening is I did notice how I am spreading across multiple columns. That's totally fine. Snap those into place. And then I'm going to highlight all of those. I'm going to change my color. So I'm going to use the same one I did before just to fill those in. And each one of those is going to represent photos running across the top. If I wanted to see the separation between there, then instead of using just gray, I could come in here with my stroke and instead switch to black. There we go. And then over here on the properties, you got your stroke here, so I can make that bigger, or I can click on the stroke itself and say, I want those to go aligned to the inside. And I can see where the boxes are, and I can see didn't do a very good job aligning that one up. So I'm going to move that one over, that one over, line those up so they look nice and even. So those are going to represent the 3 pictures. So even though this is running across the center here, that's going to be fine. And then now I'm going to do my text frames. So I'm going to come in here and decide, and I can always make adjustments to this later, but I'm going to go ahead and make this 3 columns wide. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. I'm just holding down the Alt key again. Now I'm going to go zoom in on this and make sure I clean this up because I did not do a good job lining this up. I want that so that, see how that's kind of running into the gutter. There's a lot of little lines that are here, so it's trickier to see. That's why I keep zooming in. See here. There we go. So now that's even. And on this side, zoom out a little bit. This side, it's not. There we go. That's snapped into place. Let's see. This one's a little bit closer. So you can follow along as I'm doing this and just pause the video if it's taking you a little bit longer. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to link those frames together. So I'm going to click on it, click on the out port, chain link, click here, chain link, click here, chain link. So now that's linked those pieces together. To save myself some time, I'm actually going to go ahead and copy a piece of that text. Because right now, if I click inside of here, see it's using size 12 again, size 14, but as soon as I paste that text that I already styled in that first one, this is just kind of a little shortcut, it automatically changed it. So now I can go up to type, fill with placeholder text, and watch what happens. Boop, fills the whole thing. So that's looking pretty good. Although, man, that gutters are really, really close together there. I'm just realizing that maybe these gutters are too big. Or sorry, too small. Yeah, I think I'm going to end up fixing this before I give you the template because I think those gutters are a little too small. The text is so close together right there that it's really kind of hard to read. All right, then for the little pictures that are going to show up at the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and grab like a pen tool. I'm going to fake out a little box frame here. Remember, frames for photos don't have to be squares. So I'm just going to use this as a example one for the little heads that I'm going to use down there. And I'm going to go ahead, whoops, undo, and select all of these. And I'm going to make the text a little bit longer because I want the text eventually to wrap around the heads. But by doing that, it ended up making it to where I don't have this other column of text. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to fill more text in there. So fill with placeholder. This last part, you don't have to necessarily do, but if you're interested in seeing how to do a text wrap, because we're going to do that with a pull quote here in a minute, I'm going to go here. I selected those pieces. And then if I go to Window, Text Wrap, this will let me wrap things around the shape. So I'm going to click on that one. And I can actually increase the amount of wrap. So notice what's happening is it's giving me this little bit of a gap. This is a little bit more complicated than you're really going to get. I'm going to show you the part that you're going to need to do for your pull quote. Just realized by doing this, I put those pictures on top of the page numbers. I'm going to mess stuff up because I can't see them anymore. Actually, I can't see them because I have a text wrap on there. No big deal. All right, let me show you the last piece because I feel like I've talked enough. What I want to do is I want to put a pull quote inside of here. So what I'm going to do is outside, I'm going to draw myself a little box. And then I'm going to put text inside of here. I'm just going to type in pull quote. You're going to actually have a quote that you put in there, but this is just a placeholder for right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a lot bigger. In fact, I'm going to make it way bigger. There we go. I'm going to center that. I'm going to pull it a little bit closer together. And then I'm going to drag that and put that somewhere. So I'm going to decide, again, I want to make sure that it's spanning columns, but it's not running into the gutter. I'm just shrinking this down just a little bit. And now I'm going to put a text wrap on it. Boom. So now what this has done, I can take that stroke off of there. I don't need the stroke on there. That's kind of funky looking. So now I've got the pull quote. So I've got my picture here and so on. Now, the thing with these other ones is you could reuse some of this information if you wanted to. If you've got the same exact title, you decide, all right, so I've got one where it's going to be anger management. And that's going to more closely match up with my next one. And I'll start playing around with the rest of those pieces. So that is the basic structure of what you're going to be doing. So place your pictures, then set up your frames for your photos, set up your title, set up your folio, those are the page numbers, thread your text boxes together, and fill them with placeholder text. And then do your next layout, your second set, and your third set.